first ever conversation series where we are talking about the chemical manufacturing ecosystem. We wanted to start with how is it that we look at decentralized manufacturing. This term seems like a new term, but it's not new at all. Very early start where let's say you had your innovators like your Syngenta, Bayer, BASF, etc. In your experience, or how is it that they initially took a bet on India? We in Scimplify very interestingly call out this entire capability mapping in a 3C matrix, which is chemistry, capacity and compliance.
Tariff and all those things. I think the uncertainty is so much today. And similarly, it has become complex because of geographical and other things. Trade wars, which was there between US and China earlier. Now it is between every country. Every country, even between NATO and US also. AI is still, people are hesitating whether it can only chat GPT or Gemini or something like that. I got, in fact, analytics was passion to me in terms of Six Sigma and being into quality, SPC, SQC. The analytics is something in my blood.
What are the top 3 non-negotiables while choosing a contract manufacturing partner if you are an MNC? This is a very special moment for us because this is the first ever conversation series where we are talking about the chemical manufacturing ecosystem and talking to great leaders who have shaped that. To the folks who are new to Scimplify, I wanted to give a quick introduction about us. Basically, we are a end-to-end platform for R&D, manufacturing and development of specialty chemicals based out of India. We're building out the next generation platform for building out the entire chemical ecosystem out of India. We are a science-based company. We have 3 labs in India, around 50 scientists on board, and we focus on import substitutes and new R&D molecules. Post that, we do something that we call decentralized manufacturing, which is basically contract manufacturing at scale. We are a venture capital backed company, started close to 3 years back. And now we are a group of 500 team members with 6 offices in India, 4 offices internationally, and focusing on building out the next evolving and exciting company in specialty chemicals. Our focus is primarily on R&D, innovation, and chemical manufacturing excellence. And this series is a glimpse into how we want to talk about how India is scaling up specifically and how decentralized manufacturing should be the next wave of how the chemical industry evolves. Given how Scimplify is doing things around the entire chemical R&D, innovation and manufacturing, the goal is to look at how is it we can have real world life conversations with industry leaders who have built the chemical industry and have shaped the manufacturing ecosystem. And for that, we have this series which we call Molecule Makers. We realize that there is a lot of things that happen in the background for companies, but there is a need to have conversations to bring those up front and make it very real for everyone that's there. And for that, I wanted to start and give a grand welcome to our guest today, Dr. Rajashekhar. So I'll give a quick introduction about him. But first, thank you so much, Dr. Rajashekhar, for joining us.
Thank you and good morning, Hersh.
Good morning, sir.
It is my privilege to be here.
Thank you, sir. It's a privilege to host you. Yeah. Thank you so much for welcoming and being a part of this series.
Thank you.
So yes, for our first conversation, I am glad to bring you Dr. Rajashekhar. Dr. Rajashekhar is one of the extinguished, amazing stalwarts of this entire chemical industry. Let me give a quick introduction about Dr. Rajashekhar. He's an accomplished chemist and industry stalwart in chemical engineering. He has done his PhD and his master's. He got his first rank in his MSc and has also had the Young Scientist Award in his PhD. He's done his PhD from Karnataka University. Apart from that, he has 23 publications in his name, and he's been someone who has really led the way for innovation in chemicals in India. Throughout his experience of 31 years, He has worked across multitude of industries like bulk drugs, agrochemicals, biocides, specialty chemicals, chemical intermediates, basically spanning everything that is there in the specialty chemical industry. Also, in terms of the industries, the product categories that he has worked for, it has been across technical, formulation, intermediates, and led the innovation for all of this. Prior to his superannuation, he has been a part and led the manufacturing and projects team at Tata Rallis India. He was a vice president there, and it was his very long and prestigious stint of 23 years that has led to Rallis being such an amazing organization and an inspiration for all of us in this chemical industry. Over to you, Dr. Rajashekhar. Thank you so much for joining us. Anything you would want to add to this illustrious journey that you've had?
Hersh, I think you have covered up everything. I think what you mentioned, Tata's, I think that brings me more pride into it, being into Tata's for 31 years, 23 years actually. I think, every blood, is full of Tatas actually. That is I always take a pride on that. Actually.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Great, sir. So thank you so much for being a part. As we discussed today's conversation series, we wanted to start with how is it that we look at decentralized manufacturing. This term seems like a new term, but it's not new at all. It's effectively contract manufacturing, external manufacturing. How is it that unutilized capacity can be utilized of multiple plants that are there already existing, and how do we bring about that kind of optimization at the manufacturing level, including innovation at the R&D level, to really scale up the chemical manufacturing industry of India? What are your thoughts, sir, about decentralized manufacturing in general? And I would love to understand the journey as you see it of how from, let's say, the 1990s to 2000, how has this really evolved?
I think I will put this decentralized manufacturing maybe in another two buckets. Of course, one is on contract manufacturing, another one is outsourcing, and you can call it now the latest term, decentralization of chemical manufacturing. I think this is not new phenomena, but contract manufacturing, I would say that way back late 90s, I think a lot of companies were looking out. But it is not so well known that contract manufacturing that they can come and work with any company. I think they are very selective in terms of their chemistry capabilities, their engineering capabilities, capacities, and all those things. And that is how that all started, late 90s. And then, in fact, my experience is, there are a couple of contract manufacturing products have been we could able to make in late 90s and then early 2000. I think that journey is still going on. But of late, I think maybe I would say that maybe 2010 onwards or something like that, I think it has been more focus. And there are many companies. I think, there are around 20 agrochemical companies today. I would more speak in my reference.
The larger ones,
agrochemical,
yes.
because I've been put a lot of my experience into agro. I think out of that 20, you can say that at least 14 are into, in one way or other way, either in outsourcing or into contract manufacturing. And of course, there are a couple of companies, they're quite big and they are already into, and you can consider that they are purely a contract manufacturing companies, like you say Deccan and PI, most of PI is contract manufacturing. Heikel is there is OC Specialty which has come in. I think a lot of companies, not just the companies which were there into business and then they are doing contract. I think there are newcomers.
The business model itself has become.
Newcomers are doing quite good. And it all started again, more intensive in India post a lot of, 2017 onwards, I think even small players are able to build those capabilities and capacities. Yeah, that is how it is evolving. But I think it is now, you can say that decentralization is must to hold your cash, to, go to the who have got that particular chemistry expertise rather than you building those chemical expertise. Example, if it comes fluorination, There are companies who have already backward integrated, fully integrated, and if you want to start Fluorine altogether from
Correct.
scratch,
Correct.
you won't be in a competitive and quick to market, go to market kind of a thing. That is my thought on yeah.
But sir, talking of the very early start, where let's say you had your innovators like your Syngenta, Bayer, BSF, etc. In your experience, sir, how is it that they initially took a bet on India? Because generally Europe has been the geographical area where a lot of these high, I would say, innovator molecules, etc., have always been launched, and that's where that focus has been. So early on in the 1990s, 2000, as per your experience, what was that initial step that maybe Indian companies took where these innovators could trust and get started? It may just have been 1, 2, 3 companies where those bets were taken, but what do you think, sir, those were?
I think, as you said correctly, Europe was in a hub of chemical manufacturing earlier. And everyone was looking at, if it is to be manufactured, you can go and learn there kind of a thing. But I think over a period of time, Indian companies have evolved with their technical expertise. And if you look at the talent, skill of, chemistry and engineering skill available here is phenomenal. I think this is one, and then there is a confidentiality building among these MNCs is very important. If you look at till 90s, I think not many companies, they were, everything they were making in-house. They have a big complex, chemical manufacturing complex. And they used to build one more plant and then they used to start their own. But I think that is all now, I think Europe is almost kind of out of manufacturing, especially high energy cost and other things. And of course, with China and then India, I think all of these companies are, building their capacities, including, I would say, that innovation. I think why I said, Rallis company which got into contract manufacturing, because they have, if you look at the first GLP lab they had earlier in India. That is how they know they have
that was the first one that
is a lot of prowess they had, and then that is how they could able to get. But after that, everyone is able to get into that league actually. Yeah.
So we in Scimplify very interestingly call out this entire capability mapping in a 3C matrix, which is chemistry, capacity, and compliance.
Yeah.
So chemistry is what kind of chemistries can we do, capacity is infrastructure, and compliance is audits, what kind of compliance you have. So which do you think was a critical point where, let's say, the earlier companies, maybe like a Rallis, maybe like a UPL, others, where the innovators got that confidence? Was it just based on compliance, or was it a mix of all three which gave them confidence to start a few projects initially?
It is more of, confidentiality part.
Okay.
I think that is the first and foremost point of view, confidentiality of their process and then the product kind of a thing. And then the next I would say that it is more of your technical capabilities, what you have. Capabilities could be including capacities, but more than that, I think what kind of labs you have, what kind of infrastructure you have, what kind of chemistries you are expert into it. And that is how I think, MNC started getting into in India, and then looking at these are the three things for me, I think.
That actually
looks like how the MNCs who could able to attract. Yeah.
Interesting, sir. And now, as we are discussing that, probably post 2017, more in the last maybe decade or so, you are seeing more and more global companies take the step to look at India as a hub for decentralized manufacturing. What do you think is the main hesitation point that comes to these companies, large or small, global companies, when they're looking at decentralized contract manufacturing? Is it that, again, confidentiality is the major thought process that they have, that maybe that IP will not get protected? Do they fear loss of control? Because when they are doing it, they're maintaining each and every step. They are ensuring that, there is a clear follow through of process engineering and, quality standards, or there is some hesitation on maybe cost. What do you think, or any other factor? What do you think in the last decade or so has been the top pain points or the top points that companies are hesitant to take the next step into decentralized manufacturing?
I think if you look at outside India, people coming into India,
Yes.
I think MNCs or whether it is Japanese or the European or US companies, I think they have shut their shops. Many of them have shut their shop. Even if it is there, I think they are, they're selling those assets as of now, looks like. But they are moving basically to, one is low cost manufacturing, competitiveness, to have that competitiveness. But of course, there is no second thought. It is a non-negotiable. Confidentiality part and maintaining those quality part is non-negotiable for MNCs. But if you look at within India, I think decentralization is picking up. If I am making N-3 today at my level, whether I can look at, I can do only N-2 and free up the capacities to do something more which I can do where I have more capabilities. I think that is how that is kind of picking up. And of course, there's a lot of other China factor and other things which has led, to look at different manufacturing hubs within the world. It is, I think, even if you look at the trade setups, the trade organizations and other things, I think the world is free market kind of a thing.
Correct.
So rather than I do everything, let's go and look at, where the partners, whom we can trust and then work with them.
Understood.
That is how it is.
So again, I think we'll to summarize, it would be like a cost quality equation for sure, and then everything around compliance, confidentiality. If those things are taken care of, I think what I'm hearing from you, there's a lot more ease or a lot more comfort with looking at sort of a free market situation and seeing where you can maybe do contract manufacturing and work with the right partners.
Yeah,
Very
right.
interesting. And in this, as you mentioned, sir, when we were looking at it in the, let's say, couple of decades back, there was a focus that for MNCs to look into India, they were focusing on only the larger organizations. Do you see that shift happening where even smaller organizations in India are able to now grab these kind of contracts or these kind of partnerships with large MNCs? Are you seeing that shift happening?
Very true. I think I can see that, they are in fact more going into a smaller players rather than going into well-established players. Of course, well-established players still have some advantage because of the strength in some platform chemistries like fluorine chemistry or Grignard chemistry and kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of smaller players have mushroomed into the market with the similar confidentiality giving to the MNCs, similar quality, conscious, compliance, all the time they will be doing regulatory compliances. Those companies are quite, I think they are not limiting to only the bigger one. But within that, a lot of smaller companies, yes, they are a bit choosy because of trust level and those confidentiality parameters needs to be maintained at very high level.
Great. So as we were discussing, one of the critical things that plays out whenever in the initial days, whenever the larger MNCs actually came to India and started working with the likes of UPL, PI, Tata Rallis, etc., I think the initial trust that gets built is what translates into now even smaller or medium-sized organizations getting that opportunity to do contract manufacturing. So would love to understand from you, sir, that what were those maybe 2-3 big challenges you faced in the start that you overcame, that you worked on, which helped build this kind of trust? Because I see that when you look at this trust obviously first comes to the company, but more importantly, somehow translates to the entire country as well. So in some way, Rallis, UPL, PI, etc. were torch bearers for contract manufacturing in India. So would love to get some insights on what were those larger problems you faced, given it was an initial set that the innovators were working with, and how did you deal with that?
Yeah, I think I will put this in. One is trust has been created or built by the leadership team, where highest leadership team of the company, where they have pitched to get that kind of a building that trust with the MNCs, and then that is how the business starts coming in, and the next part will fall on us. So next level team, and then basically the difficulty is where how do you build the culture of transparency within our set of team.
Hmm.
And then nothing to, anything is there. If you find something not going well, flag it off. Not only flag it off with your team, flag it off to MNCs, customer also. Flag it off everything. If you look at, today also, every batch data input goes to them.
Oh.
Every batch data input, output parameters, but sometimes if it is critical. So you have to bring in level of transparency. I think that is challenge, which is, because we all know that, chalta hai duniya. So jugaad karte rehte.
India jugaad is a...
So that is what I think the initial little bit of challenges were to make our team educated to bring that level. I think that is the first part. It is not just transparency with respect to process. It is not just transparency in communication, but as well as with the process as quality and safety. I think these are the three things plays an important role to, because sometimes, there's a tendency to, अरे कुछ नहीं हुआ चल जो next batch में cover करेंगे.
Yeah.
I think those things will not reflect the
in the long term.
Long term, I think you need to have that. And now not just torchbearer companies, but everyone has to. You want to be in that business, you have to be like that. Then only you can succeed in that CM business or decentralized kind of manufacturing.
Very interesting. So the point that you bring up, that maybe the large global MNCs get attracted because of the capabilities, be it the chemistry, the capacity, the compliance that you follow. But the continued work happens. Obviously, it will happen because you're cost competitive, you have quality standards, etc. But also an angle of transparency, also an angle of utmost trust, or the way in which the system itself is built. There's a lot of communication, trust-based communication and transparency.
Right.
Very interesting to see that. I think that is something that, like you mentioned, everyone now has to imbibe. Where India truly wants to be global, it is something that we need to imbibe. We need to ensure that everyone is working in that manner to be able to build this out further.
It's like, civilization, how it is evolving. Every state, every city, you are all responsive to others also. If you look at in Bombay, everyone is in queue. You don't have to tell them.
Yeah.
But you go to other. So that is kind of culture building is happening, and it is there actually. It has been evolving that way. Yeah.
Very interesting. I think one of the last themes on this topic of decentralized manufacturing and the introduction to that was around, given that there's a lot of volatility, there's a term which is called VUCA, VUCA. Do you see that actually global companies are looking to shift their manufacturing to India and look at actually a China plus one? Or is it just building optionality? Is it just building a backup? And this is something why, because maybe in the last 5 to 7 years, there has been a lot of talk of China plus one, but in different pockets, and having a very real conversation in different pockets, there's a lot of thought that there is China plus one, but actually it's not translating. While there is a lot of talk, it still goes to China itself because of, again, low cost, quality, and they've built very strong capex and very strong, capability. So what is your opinion on that? Do you see this actually getting implemented?
Yeah, I think hookah is real. Hookah is real and exists today. And it's more so maybe last couple of years. Because today we feel that, we'd be able to do good business with some country, and then that all of a sudden someone comes and make a statement saying that, I'll put you so much of this thing.
Tariff
and all those things. I think the uncertainty is so much today. And similarly, it has become complex because of geographical and other things.
Absolutely.
If you look at this China plus ones, how it all started. If you look at, I will put it in 3 scenarios. One is in 2017-18, where China government came very heavily on environmental, those who are not following environmental norms.
Yeah.
I think they cracked most of the companies, and there lot of chemical manufacturing companies have shut.
Shut down, correct.
And that has made a supply chain gap. And then that has created a lot of uncertainties. Costs have gone up 100% higher in that time. And second one is trade wars, which was there between US and China earlier. Now it is between
all
every country,
countries, every country.
even between NATO and US also,
Correct.
kind of a thing.
Correct.
And the more so, this COVID, the pandemic has again, it is a return of one more effect.
Yeah.
In terms of supply chain gap. That is where in COVID, I think I would put it one example. The raw material key intermediate, which we were buying from China somewhere at $6 to $8, somewhere that variations. And during COVID time, because a lot of people are not there to work actually, and then that is how supply chain has gone haywire. So that cost has gone to $20. Of course, you will get final product cost will go up, everything.
Correct.
That time we all started looking at, hey, why can't make this product? Prior to that, we were making that product. We stopped it because something is available in China. So China plus one has started not just overnight thought. It is, I think, maybe 17 to 22 kind of a thing, around 5-6 years. Every company has burned their fingers in terms of, dependency on China.
Yeah.
That is how, whether it is Indian companies or whether it is MNCs companies, European or even Japanese companies. So everyone looking at, let's not fix it temporarily. Let's fix it something, though cost will be little different.
Yeah.
But you have to have supply chain resiliency built in. That is how I think this China plus one strategy has started moving. And yes, India, then maybe Vietnam, maybe I think Indonesia could be. I think they are looked at, and India is first comes as a China plus one.
Yeah.
India comes one.
Yeah.
I think if you look at even the contract manufacturing, they call it, I will not call it decentralized, but decentralized has got much more meaning into it.
Yeah.
So I will call it, maybe it is in India, the growth is around 14 to 15%, maybe as per the data which comes from the AI, Google and other things. So it is growing at that stage. It means India is able to counter as a kind of, yes, we are the China plus one country where we can and provide all this thing.
Yeah.
But cost competitiveness, yes, I think India has to go a long way. Maybe the labor cost, I would say people cost would be 30% lower. Compared to Western countries, yes, 30%. But China ke saath compare, yes, it is lower. But remaining the ecosystem, I would say that, if you example, the RM integrated supply chain, RMs in China, I think you name it, everything is there.
Absolutely.
In-house.
Absolutely.
That is not there built in actually. We don't have to work only in actives in India. I think we'll have to look at complete ecosystem of their RM availability, and every RM level, someone has to be bigger. Economy of scale, they play China plays very strong in economy of scale.
Correct.
I think that is where I think some companies, expert companies, they have to build in RM integrated supply chain. And beyond this, as a chemical manufacturing, why should I worry about from where the steam is coming, where the still water is coming, where the gas is coming? Whether you can tap it and use it, as you use it, pay. And then you can, that is also where chemical parks which are required.
Yeah.
Because I've been to China also.
Yeah.
Even Europe I've seen. I don't have to worry about other part of it. I am focused on chemical manufacturing. So those kind of parks, I understand something is coming in India, but those things will certainly help. You focus your own strength rather than getting into utility and all those things. Even sense. I would say effluent management. There are, whether you can look at it, I've seen it in Europe. So everything is addressed. Of course, you are just to address very minimal and everything is addressed. We have CETPs and all those things.
Absolutely.
But those are also, again, governance mechanism has to be very stringent. So I think this is something where this ecosystem has to be created within India to make it more whether China plus one, whether we will be successful. Indian, I think, is both government, companies, and I would also that government policies in terms of dedicated parks plus these are all PLI scheme and other things are coming.
I think there's a lot of that happening, but it
PLI
has
is
to
happening,
translate into the ground. Correct.
I think export incentives hai. I think all those things has to be focused more. I think one has to build, by Vikshit Bharat ke liye, we need to create our own CM vision statement. What is that government would support, industries. So I think that is where we
Very
can.
interesting. Very interesting thought. I think how
right.
can the government actually help on bringing specialty chemicals even further, looking at contract manufacturing in specific. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Great. Sir, shifting a little bit into a different, also an important angle on quality assurance and quality control. You've spent a lot of your time in that area as well, and you talk about it as how is that is very important. What, in your view, are those fundamental things that a manufacturer in India needs to focus on when they are ensuring that they're giving contract manufacturing as a service, especially, and link it to how is it that a global MNC needs to look at those controls where earlier they were doing everything in-house. They were themselves manufacturing, but now they are looking at a decentralized mode of manufacturing. What do they need to look in terms of control, and what does an Indian manufacturer need to do to match that?
Yeah. I think this is a question close to my heart, kind of, because I spent 50% of my career into quality and then 50% of into manufacturing. I was switching between quality and manufacturing, so both are very close to me. Yeah. And of course, the innovation part is also close to, because without working with R&D team, I think you will not be able to success.
Absolutely.
I think it is not just product quality what MNCs are looking, or even anyone is looking. Finally, when product is made, it has to behave the same way, batch after batch. It has to behave same in their usage, end use level. So of course, you have a lot of product quality, COA, all those things are there. You comply to it. But in spite of that, you end up with something. I would say that, so first of all, your data, what you are capturing, quality data, it has to be very accurate. Primary data which is being captured, not just, someone is entering. From the directly instrumentation, you capture the data so that, people believe that, it is not been someone has cancelled it and put it new figure. Of course, there are NABL and other things, certifications, which builds the culture of data integrity at quality level. And it is not just investigation should not get into only for out of spec batches. You should also go if it is out of trend, though it is within the spec. But whether if it is out of trend, within the spec but out of trend.
Why is that happening?
Because that particular trend might impact your final product level. I think I would say that more focus, quality control focus, in any way I would say that it is a part of manufacturing. But quality assurance, where system orientation, system is there at
quality system
every level, every process level, not just in inspection level. So in inspection you can't do all the batches. You can't do 100 bags. You can only take some of them, and because once your process are established, both at material receiving to storage level as well as at use and how every process level validations are quite important. Whether maybe the process validations, qualifications. First of all, those equipment qualifications, and then validations. Of course, analytical method validation. Analytical method validation is, I would put it at one part, but bigger part is process validations are required. I think all these things, maybe you can call it a GMP or you can call it ISO 9001.
Correct.
But I think these compliances are much more important than just COA based or specification based quality control.
Understood.
I think that is how everyone has to build those cultures. Of course, comes by force, comes by audit, comes by a lot of a bit of resistance.
Yeah.
But that has to be built
That has
in.
to be something.
That has that culture has to be built in.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
I think the way that we have approached this in Scimplify, because we are a decentralized manufacturing first organization, we have seen this exact thing, right? Because we are working majorly with a lot of medium-sized manufacturers to whom we give our technology and we get the contract manufacturing done. I think having a very strong team first at our end, which is your product commercialization, your technology transfer, your quality assurance, your quality control. We actually have a team of now around 70 people, which are at those plants. So we have a person from QA, QC, we have a person from production who is sitting at those plants monitoring and then elevating them to that kind of level that they can support in terms of infrastructure, in terms of safety standards, quality standards, such that it becomes something which is a trustworthy plant, which can translate. And that is where we see that now we as Scimplify are able to give this as a service of distributed manufacturing, contract manufacturing to large MNCs, because we have done this for our own products by ensuring that there is enough bandwidth created to elevate these manufacturers that now they are of that level that even MNCs can work, with these plants. So very, very apt in terms of what you said.
Yeah, Harsh, it is very important if you are doing that kind of a service. I think a lot of companies will come to a particular level. I think that is very important. Building the skill capabilities in terms of how do I make that quality, not just product level, but at every level.
Correct.
I think that is a great service you are working and building those company capabilities.
Yeah.
I think that is very important.
Yeah.
MNCs do it, but MNCs do it in a bits, and they will not get into every level.
Absolutely.
But I think when you are talking to a company, mid-sized company, I think they will also be in a listening mode that this is how it has to be done. I think that is the best thing to educate, build that culture within that company.
Absolutely.
But of course, I think your selection team, your selection criteria, I think those are all very critical.
Very critical.
Very critical.
Very critical. Correct.
There are many, but within that you have to be choosy again.
Absolutely.
To who will fit into your culture.
Absolutely.
Your trustworthiness kind of thing.
But that's where we see as Scimplify that we may be able to create that kind of impact for the Indian chemical ecosystem, where we are able to first give that kind of understanding and knowledge to these medium-sized manufacturers to elevate them, such that we can then target large MNCs and invite them and say that we have this entire checklist, this entire end-to-end culture that we can serve your demands on contract manufacturing. That's where we get that confidence that we can do that.
Right.
Very interesting. So in that point itself, what I mentioned, let's say that you were heading the contract manufacturing organization of a large MNC who probably doesn't do a lot of contract manufacturing. They're looking to start. What, in your opinion, would be criteria or signals that you would want to see such that you would partner with an Indian manufacturer? What would those be top of the mind checklist points for you, which will help you decide that you want to choose a particular Indian partner, Indian factory to work with?
I think, I would put that in terms of SQC. Safety is not statistical quality control, but I would put it as safety is a paramount important, because once if something happens, you are out of business for a couple of months. So it is again supply chain gap would be there. I think that is something where you have wherever there is a process where you have a criticality, is it being fully under control, where all the alert systems and everything is coming to you. And then, of course, quality by default, by design, quality has to be there. And then beyond that, I think there are a lot of ESG and other things are coming, because if you look at this BRSR reporting, business responsibility and sustainability reporting, which has made a bit of mandatory now. I think earlier it was for 500 companies, now it is 1,000 companies kind of a thing this year. So where that environment, I think we all have to care for that. I think that is something. What do you do? Because normally yields are varying from 30 to 96%, 97%,
Correct.
96% yields are varying.
Yeah.
Remaining is all waste generation.
Correct.
How do we get into those addressing it? All affluent are addressable today.
Yeah.
It's not that nothing is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So how do you make all those things, fully addressable rather than making any shortcut? There is a lot of regulations around it. NGT and all those things are very active. More than that, I think it is our responsible care. One should look at that ESG aspect. Governance, in any case, you can't get away.
Correct.
Yes, right. ESG, social is something, again, that is kind of a mandatory.
Correct.
I think these are the few things we should standardize, focus, and then build those culturally.
So you say
high level.
safety, ESG, what else would come in?
I would say SQC first,
Okay.
and then SQ safety, quality, and cost.
Cost.
Yeah.
And then
right.
ESG is
Yeah,
so you say
yeah.
safety, quality, cost,
Yeah.
ESG.
Yeah.
These will be the top four.
Cost is something, it is not, I think you need again culture of continuous improvement
Correct.
in place.
Yeah.
Whether it is you pick up a quality circle, or you pick up a Six Sigma project, or you put a AI analytics into it, statistical approaches, SPC, SQC. I think SPC, SQC are earlier done maybe batch to batch kind of a thing, maybe month level.
Yeah.
But now that the AI analytics coming into it, you can look at year,
Continuous,
you can have that regressions, not just 3 parameters, where you can have 100 parameters at a time. Look at the impact of that. I think those are all things slowly,
Need to be
upgrade ourselves to
interesting.
get into,
I think-
attracting CM into India.
Contract manufacturing. Very interesting. I think that brings us to this point. I think any conversation podcast is now not over if you don't talk of AI and how is AI impacting chemical manufacturing. I think very interesting because chemical manufacturing is not something which comes as the first use case or a quick use case for AI. I think there's a lot of AI that's happening on the chemical space, probably more in R&D side first to start with. But would love to understand your view of how is AI starting to make an impact, and very interesting conversation where you're already working with a company which is focusing on AI. Would love to understand your thoughts on how is it that has started, and what do you see in the nearby future, how AI will create some impact for chemical manufacturing specifically?
Yeah, I would not put this, because AI is talk of the town today. Of course, with AI summit happening and all those things. But beyond that, even at board level, people say that what are you doing on digitization and analytics part kind of a thing. But no one is getting that kind of a level of confidence today. Whether it will deliver me ROI. Even in fact, in my own organization, earlier organization, a lot of things came and then pressure came that, go and implement and all those things. But I said, unless I get assured that digital has value assessment, it gives me some value out of it. We did, in fact, digital value assessment first. Yes, there is some good, you can see some, pointers. Yes, you can get something. So that is very important. Whatever is digital or AI is there. One is AI के लिए पहले तो data चाहिए आपको.
Yeah.
Data is the most thing.
Most important thing, correct?
And data is accurate data, most trustworthy data, and available all the time. Live data is required. Then you can bring an AI into it. So we had achieved a lot of good things. I'm not saying that AI part, but even at digitization level, we could able to do a lot of improvements. And whatever you have put in, I think there's a decent ROI. But when you come to AI is still, people are hesitating whether it can only chat GPT or Gemini or something like that. But yes, I think AI capability is beyond human capability. You can look at three things, correlate three things together.
Yeah.
But AI can do multi-dimensional activities together.
Absolutely, yeah.
It is a programmed kind of a thing. I think that is how I got, in fact, analytics was passion to me in terms of Six Sigma and being into quality, SPC, SQC. And then what we did in my earlier organization, the analytics is something in my blood. Though that is how I got passion into it, and then I associated as an advisor to a Twarit, is a German-based company. Yes, AI analytics, customer have to, he have to believe that it can happen. Unless, it doesn't deliver any value, no one will put money into it.
Absolutely.
So I think it is going to be there. One more thing I would say, that why it is important today. If the transparency level, the confidentiality part, you want to build a good rapport, good, trustworthiness with your MNCs or even your customer within India.
Yeah.
There is no, manipulation of data. So if you put all these things, there is no question of doubting you. You have, everything is there on the table.
Absolutely.
Your data is there, digitized data is there. So that is also brings you more help, building your relations with your customer actually. I think that is very important, that everyone should look at it. But of course, I say that look at it without any returns on it. Unless you don't get returns, don't just speak on AI kind of a thing.
Yeah. This is the future, so you have to invest in it.
Worth looking, every company should look at worth looking at it. Certainly something will come out of it actually. So that is how AI analytics should be part of manufacturing process. I will put it at very high end. First it comes sensors, temperature controls, automation, then digitization, then you capturing all these data into one server or historian kind of. Then you put this analytic engine onto it, AI engine onto it to get you more insights, which human being will not be able to find insight with multiple hundred of parameters actually.
Oh, very interesting. I think very insightful in terms of how you call it out. I think we are following a similar approach on AI at Scimplify as well. We've already, I think 6 months back, 9 months back, already started on the R&D. So I think today the general process that is followed, that R&D scientists look at research papers, understand different routes, try and understand what is the most optimized route, and then start work on that. We have now implemented, so we have a platform which is called Ions and Atoms. So Atoms is for manufacturing, Ions is for R&D. So now we've integrated, we call it Syra, which is SCIRA, Syra, which is our digital AI assistant, which basically gets plugged into an Ions and Atoms platform. Basically, it gives our R&D scientists all the publications and research papers instead of searching manually, everything, and it starts searching for the most optimized route as well. Because once it reads through all the papers, it can also give a quick understanding of where is it that maybe cost might increase because there's a certain temperature pressure that needs to get reached, where are certain raw materials that are difficult to do, what kind of chemistries are difficult. So we have started utilizing that to aid the scientists, but we do see this happening in the future where it becomes much more quicker, faster and effective. But as you said, it has to be started. And that similar thought process we brought to manufacturing as well, where we have a slightly more complex problem that we don't have our own plant. So we have to work with a contract manufacturing plant to elevate them. So to my earlier point, now we are actually working, we've shortlisted 3 plants. We're going to, in one of the plants, which already has few sensors, Scimplify is going to invest in more sensors, start gathering the data. And in 2 other plants where there's already sensors, start gathering all that data and actually show visibility for a medium-sized plant, show visibility of the entire manufacturing process end to end. And then through Atoms, which is the platform we've built, give that visibility to MNC customers. So to what you called out, that what maybe the larger organizations have been doing, and that trust and transparency that we spoke of, that will create that is something that we're trying to attempt to do and, carry that forward. It's an investment at this point, but we see that as the future.
Excellent to hear. I think it makes me, more interesting into when you are looking at R&D level AI at an initial level, even at a selection level. It's been developed in-house or it is?
So right now, yes, it is in-house. It's completely in-house. We use obviously the current models, but it is in-house where we've used it for our specific case of chemistry, R&D.
it can be a business itself later.
For sure, that's what we think about. It can
Yeah,
be
but-
very interesting to
So
evaluate.
I think
that.
it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is somewhere I am used to it, but
Yeah.
R&D is something. Even in DOE, where you do, within DOE also you can put something analytics into it. You can, again, DOE, gives you a kind of, again, human limitation will
Yeah.
come in.
Yeah.
I think there are maybe some dedicated softwares might be there.
That can actually
But beyond that, even
build a specific use case for specialty.
can also
chemicals.
help you in DOE what you do
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Right.
Very interesting.
Good.
So, sir, to
Very-
close, how do you see the next 5 to 10 years on decentralized manufacturing? What is it that India should focus on to become the preferred hub to actually attract a lot of global customers who are looking at external manufacturing and evaluating India, but maybe not convinced? What do you see the next 5 to 10 years for decentralized manufacturing, and what should India and Indian manufacturers focus on?
I think India cannot take out business out of China completely. I mean, it's not completely, not even 50%. I think
Yeah.
is a long way to go.
Yeah, that's the
But
truth.
yeah, I
Absolutely.
think it is a long way to go. You're even speaking of China plus one, but
Yeah.
it will happen quite. De-risking your supply chain.
Yeah,
De-risking is important.
yeah,
I think I mentioned it something, you need to build that ecosystem in India 5 to 10 years or till 47. 47 is too late for us. It is.
Viksit Bharat will come.
Viksit Bharat बहुत लंबा हो जाएगा कि I think before that, I think we need to have that built-in ecosystems in India. Even every individual company should focus on assurance part and compliance is something, regulatory compliance is something very focused way. ESG is part of, again, compliance level. And safety is, again, non-negotiable. Safety, quality are non-negotiable thing.
yeah,
Where I think today everyone is up to one level, but those, has to be raised the bar within that actually. So that, I'm not talking of even MNCs coming in. MNCs have started coming.
yeah,
MNCs they have shut their shops and
Yeah.
they're into India, right? Within the company, within India, I think within what I'm talking of, integrated RM supply chain, where decentralization is important. Decentralization is very important. That in fact, we could dependency of China. We could maybe three or four molecules. We said that we have to create our own in India, but not making in-house.
yeah,
Going out.
yeah,
Going out and maybe whatever technology we have handhold them, and then so that is how this dependency has led to decentralization. China dependency, you have to come out of it. That has led to decentralization is happening. The level of decentralization will further go up because of no one want to build the capacity, just running it for 3 months or 5 months or 6 months, unless because volumes are you cannot build because
absolutely.
UCA is against is besides you.
Correct.
It can say that you don't have to run this because you are not competitive at all.
Correct.
So that is how the thing decentralization move to wherever capacity is available. Don't invest all those everything into in-house and build those huge capacities and say that capacity utilization is quite low.
Yeah,
And there are all the money still on the ground. I think, but there are, I would say that Grignard kind of a thing. There are many companies in Hyderabad and Telangana areas, I think.
we're doing really well.
They're really doing, and they're not that big enough.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they have built those capabilities.
yeah,
I think why can't you go and do it? They may be little put some more additional capacities, but they are experts into it. I think few of these things, and then what governmental supports, what we spoke on that.
Yeah.
I think how those things will evolve. I think that's very important. Otherwise, what we seeing the vision of 47, but before that, I think government has to, play more role. Even if you look at the regulation, regulatory approval time, though it has been more simplified, more converting into digitization, but still those the bureaucracy cultural has to be moved out. I think those timelines, what do we call it, SEZ mein,
Yeah.
we call it single window.
Correct.
I don't see any single window there exist. Everywhere, environment, you go to GPCB, you go to,
go to separate.
there. I think single window is something everyone looks at it. I will come to you. You give me whatever you want to. I am yes or no or kind of thing. Single window is still very critical in this, where that government can go to other government and look at it and then get it.
Very interesting.
I think these are the few things which we, India, and then we all industrial teams, we should look at it.
Very interesting. Great, sir. I think thank you so much. I think
you,
that concludes. Wanted to do a quick rapid fire with you. Just, I think,
hope you will not fire at me.
Just quick questions about whatever we spoke about, and just quick thoughts from you. Very, very short. So, what are the top 3 non-negotiables while choosing a contract manufacturing partner if you are an MNC?
SQC.
Great.
Safety, quality, cost and compliance. CC.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. So next question. Top 2 ways to prove confidentiality to a global customer.
Basically, you build that transparency level, and all these things can be built through more of how you bring that data accuracy in place.
Okay. Top 3 quality systems that must be standardized across all partner sites.
Qualifications, validations, and regular assessments.
So next question. Top 3 risks that leaders often underestimate in decentralized manufacturing.
I think there is one is on compliance part, where regulatory compliances are quite stringent, both not only in India but outside also. I would put that as something risk which have to be mitigation in place, even for safety.
Top 3 mistakes that Indian contract manufacturers should avoid while scaling up.
Yeah, I think one is management of change. Whatever change happening, I think MOC is something we should focus, whether it is equipment change, whether it is people change, or process change, or spec change. I would put management of change has to be transparently built into culture.
Okay.
And second one is apply all your SPC, SQC, AI, digitization, and all those things.
Really well.
Yeah.
Understood. I think that's great. That's the rapid fire. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for coming here and really enjoyed the conversation. I think it was a very free-flowing conversation. Thank you so much for this, Dr. Rajashekhar.
Great. I think Scimplify is doing a great job. I think I could understand now that you are serving and then building those cultures with mid-sized companies. That is a great. I think there's a long way to, build this decentralization part. I think certainly India will come out.
For sure. I think look forward to India being on the frontier of scaling this up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.